I fast forwarded the part where I chiseled the rest of the triangle. So all I did was I repeated the same action. So you just have to make sure you go really slow, especially around the edge. So you want to make sure you preserve the outside line here. You don't want to touch it at all. So when you chisel, what you're going to be doing, right, you're going to start the chisel right from the line and angle straight down. Might be able to demonstrate that. So right now I'm doing a side paring. Okay, so you want to make sure you bring everything down, the inside corner down to 3 millimeter before you move on. So next step, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start carving this this triangle corner down. Next step, we are going to start carving one of these corners. Okay, before I do that, I need to establish another knife line. I should have done that at the start, but it's not too late. Just gonna grab my square. It's a diagonal line. I just need it as a guide. I'm not gonna be cutting anything from it, so I'll just probably do 2 quick scribes. So that will give us clearly which part we can touch and which part we can't touch. So the target is to get this line here down and this corner here down. So actually I think it would be easier if I just start from this corner. So what you're doing now is you're just chamfering the edge. So as I was saying, we are going to keep this diagonal line. We're going to maintain it the same way we maintain the outside outline. Okay. Chamfer just right to the middle. Just go slow as you get closer and closer to the middle. You don't have to go too fast. So the reason I keep coming back from this corner is basically to make sure the corner, the two section, the part where the two section meets is square and clean. So as you can see, I'm trying to do a very deep chamfer from the start because it's slightly easier. There you go. Now I have a very deep chamfer right here. Okay, so as you can see, the chamfer ended right in the middle of the line that I started. So right now I really need to start carving the middle as well, like this middle section. So I will go ahead and start the V groove. So you probably noticed that I've only been using this 10 millimeter chisel throughout the entire project because it's really versatile. Because of its smaller size, it can get into the corners a little bit easier, and you have a bit more control over the chisel. Having that control over the chisel is very helpful. Okay, first part, getting that outside angle, triangle. Second part, working on that inside triangle. So you slowly bring that chamfer up. By doing that, you're not trying to chisel too much material at once, which will allow you to cut a little bit easier. Otherwise, you need to have like a really sharp chisel. And even though we just sharpen the chisel, you know, after a while it can go blunt again. I really wish I had a piece of leather so that I can show you how to stroke the chisel right after you hone it. So I'm just going back to retrace the line that I did initially. I'm going to do a very slight cut, sliding cut. going to do my best to avoid touching the middle line. I'm just going to turn the workpiece so that I can start from the top and chisel straight down. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, a little bit at a time. So now you can see half of the tail of the star is actually going at a slope now, which is what we wanted. And I'm just going to go back and clean it up from this side. And it seems like I need to start dropping this down as well. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Start with the corner, chamfer the corner, chamfer it nice and slow, especially towards the edge. There you go. Got the chamfer all the way down. Perfect. Really fast. Just clean up the edge there. Done. So it seems like there's a bit of a variation in the middle, in between the two. So that means I cut this side a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to do, just bring it down the same level. So let me just show you before I move on. So as you can see here, right, we have three different what do you call that, bevel or facet that are going down. They're meeting right down the center here. So on itself it forms a nice triangle with a downward angle facet going on. And I'm just gonna repeat the same thing on the remaining three sides, and yeah, I'll show you the final result in a bit. Okay. I discovered something as I was doing the second cut. It is much faster, much easier to use a bigger chisel to carve. Yeah, for some of you it'll be like, yeah man, it's so obvious. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that, but with the big chisel it took me about less than 10 minutes, I think, to cut one whole side. I mean both sides. So same thing, always start with the corner, chamfer, chamfer, chamfer. Be careful around the middle. And just to be safe, I'm going to start the V groove right away and continue going further down. Okay, so now I'm going to continue chamfering over here right up until I get everything evened out. Another cut over here. Boom. So now I'm going to start paring the middle section. Start with paring straight. And then towards the end, you might want to start paring sideways. Just so you don't get any tear out. chamfer a little bit further. So you want to focus on one side for about halfway before you even think about getting started on the second piece. Okay, just like that. So now I can start working on this corner as well. Same thing towards the end, just go slow, because if you over push a bit too much, right, you will start stabbing the walls, and you want to keep them as clean as you can. I mean, it's inevitable that you would end up pushing a bit too hard, but you know, just try to keep it to the minimum. So another way of paring, right, is, let's say when you start chiseling from here, you're keeping the flat side of the chisel resting flat on the surface that you're cutting. So right after you do that cut, you move a little bit to the side, the same angle, push. So you're always using the surface that you just cut as like a reference surface. Alright, so this is what we end up with after spending the entire morning, about 3 hours, I think, carving and chiseling. And as you can see, all the walls look pretty flat and even. There's a few tear out here and there. As I mentioned before, this is my first relief carving, but they all look even. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I hope you end up with the same result or pretty close to this one, without, of course, cutting yourself. And if you do manage to get a nice pattern like this, take a picture and put it up on Instagram or Facebook and tag us in the post. And if you want to challenge yourself, you can go for something that's a bit more complicated or something more easy. You can look up more patterns, more templates on either Pinterest or on Google. Right, so I think that about wraps up the video. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.